We're back. I'm sorry, we had little technical difficulties.
Still waiting for all these Twitter followers to come on.
We got a little technical difficulties, but we're here now. I need this to follow up so I can ask the questions, because last time their questions were coming in hot and heavy, and I couldn't keep up with them.
Is politics allowed? They want to know. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Israel, man?
Yes, politics.
What are you guys doing over there?
Politics is loud. You can ask the Jewish guy anything. Welcome. Real quick. Respectfully. Share this with your followers if you think it'll be interesting. Tap the man on the bottom right. That'll bring up a share button, and then click share. And then you can share it to Twitter, Facebook, and Periscope. Okay, first question. I saw your question. I'm going to just take some questions real quick, and then we'll start. My question is, are Jews considered cheap? Don't answer yet. I'm going to just try and get a couple questions first, because last time we couldn't. Last time we were getting questions asked when we weren't looking the whole time. So we'll take a couple questions right now.
I got put them in. Too.
Yeah, I got one too.
I got two.
Okay, so come in and go ahead and ask your questions. Are you taught to be cheap? I feel like there's going to be a lot about cheapness.
What type of Jew are you?
Give me a little background, Jeff. You probably won't.
It's all in the eye of the beholder.
I didn't
Why
know
don't you just judge me and make all your opinions without knowing a Jew like everybody does? I never met one, but I heard they're like this, and this.
Let's go back a little bit more.
Oh, for Jewish food over American dishes.
School a little
to
to your
call my food dishes.
I love Joe.
I didn't know anything about Jewish.
What's a pizza?
All right, Jewish people or Judaism until I moved here. So
to
I lived
Hollywood.
To Hollywood. I lived in Texas, which was 97% Hispanic.
Not a lot of Jews there.
Not a lot of Jews. My dad's in the military. I also lived in a lot of military bases.
Okay.
There was not a lot of Jewish people in the military that I know of. Then we moved to North Carolina.
Military.
Right.
Israel, they're all in the military.
Yeah. And then I moved to Washington, and I don't know if there's like a large Jewish population there.
Oh.
The biggest are in New York, LA,
Yep.
Chicago's got one, and then like South Florida, a lot of Jews retired
Yes.
South Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like pockets, but
Right.
for
But
the most part, like I think something like some huge
Okay.
percentage of Jews in America are all in LA or New York.
Right. So when I moved here, my son's manager is Jewish, and I learned a lot about Jewish people on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know if that's good or bad.
No, yeah, that's like a training manual.
Great.
Yeah, that's like me when I learned about black people. I watched Good Times.
Okay, Jay.
I got a quick. This is a real quick question.
Okay.
Is it political or proper? Or I always feel it's weird to say Jew. Like if I was like, oh Jeff, he's a Jew, or is that okay?
I don't care. I am a Jew.
No, I know, but I'm like,
kind of the tone of your voice. If you're like, Jeff's a Jew. That's probably...
you should hear how I refer to Kev. I call him a Jew.
Okay, my first question, and we got a couple, so we got enough to get started.
Chad's
Should
going
we
to be
say
here in a
Hebrew
minute.
instead?
Chad's going to be here in a minute.
Okay, should you say Hebrew instead?
No, that person said, should we say Hebrew instead? That's kind of an interesting question because Hebrew is just the language that Jews speak. But
yeah, that'd be like me calling Kev Ebonics.
no, but not really, because back in the day, Jews were referred to as Jews were referred to as Israelites, and before that, were referred to as Hebrews, like a long time ago.
Like in the Bible days.
Yeah.
So it'd be like calling Kev an old school term, like
Colored? Is it like that?
no, I was thinking older.
Why did it take me so long to get that? Okay, here's my question, Jeff, and then we'll take Jay's, and then we'll take the people's. We used to ask this question a lot, and it's, if you had to pick two people that best represent Jewish people, one man, one woman, could be living or dead, or what do you say?
Yeah,
could be living or dead.
Yeah.
That, like, if we had like a race relations summit, who would you pick that would represent the Jewish people?
Oh, that's a loaded... These people are like, do you speak Hebrew? And you're like, who would represent Jews? Maybe Golda Meir for the female. She was the...
Who?
Golda Meir is the first
That sounds familiar.
female prime minister of Israel.
Okay.
And, what do you mean? Like, so people... Well, there's a huge difference between, like, American Jews and Israelis and stuff. You know, like, they're not...
So pick two Israeli Jews and two American Jews. Is that too hard?
To represent how?
Like a racial nation summit. So I would pick like Barack Obama and Oprah, or Will Smith and Oprah.
For Irish, I picked I think JFK and Bill Burr.
Yeah.
JFK, by the way, did not want white people and black people to get married. You know, he didn't like Sammy Davis coming to the White House because he had a white wife.
Yeah, that's why I picked him.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's like all of his presidents, everything is great. It's like they're secretly super racist in their own way. So gold of my ear, and then for a guy like to just represent like how Jews. I don't know.
No, like we're having a summit about religious and race culture. And these two people will be like
too serious.
Yeah, this is like
jokingly.
Yeah,
Larry David.
Yes,
yeah, Larry David's pretty.
Larry David is like my favorite comedian.
Your favorite what?
Comedian.
He's great.
I just love his writing.
Those people.
He taught me a lot about Jewish culture, but in like a comedic way. And then I just think Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of the best.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the stuff from Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm, I didn't realize other races would kind of get.
Yeah.
Really?
There's a lot of like subtle stuff where I was like. I get like I think that's hilarious because I get like I have family members like that and I'm kind of like that, but there's certain things where I'm like I don't. It's kind of weird how Jews are able to do things where it's like everybody kind of gets it, or not everybody, but I mean a lot of different types of people.
Right.
Love Seinfeld. Like there's in Seinfeld. I don't know if you ever watched Seinfeld. You say like
I've seen a couple episodes of Seinfeld.
There's he did like an arc with this rabbi. Who, I don't know if you remember that. Do you watch Seinfeld? There's a rabbi who would like go around and he would do these like public access. Things to the, you know, like sermons or whatever, and he's like, so I met a lovely woman. Like the way he did like that cadence, was like my dad used to make fun of. I had a bunch of different rabbis at our temple growing up because they all whatever. I mean, they move on and they go to other places or something. I mean, whatever. That's how it happened to be. And like my dad would always joke around. Like when we'd leave temple about how the rabbi. That's like that's not every rabbi, but there's a lot of rabbis that do that thing where they're like. We are gathered here on the Sabbath.
Right.
And it's like, where do you...
Is that stereotypical?
Dude, that rabbi in Seinfeld was so funny. Like, the way he talked was exactly like a couple rabbis I had. And not all rabbis...
Okay.
Not all rabbis talk like that. But...
That'd be like the same man.
It's not a good story. It's a bad story.
Here, I'll ask my question. Hold on your questions. Ken will be back in 1 sec. He's just getting the door for the next segment after this. Here's my quick question for you. Okay... Like you, I think you know this, or you've said this yourself. You're not the stereotypical looking Jewish person. Do you agree with that, or no?
Not really, because I'm very European looking, and like when I was in Poland, everybody kind of looked like me.
Okay. Oh,
they weren't Jewish probably, but I think I look. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you think of like Orthodox Jews.
Well, yeah, stereotypical Jews though, like all the ones I think because a lot of Jewish writers are kind of nerdier people. So then, like, when they write in a Jewish character on a show, they always kind of make it like them. And I always didn't like that. I always liked Adam Sandler when he was doing stuff because he made, like, being Jewish not like a dorky, like,
cool.
Like, I have allergies and I'm a nerd. Like, I always remember, like, the Steve Harvey show. There was, like, a Jewish girl who was just, like, always such a dork. Like, Jews are all, and I mean, they're written probably mostly by Jewish writers. They're written in as, like, dorks and
not good at sports.
Like, not good at sports.
Yeah.
Well, here's my question.
Marty Glickman was one of the best athletes this country has ever seen.
Okay, here's my quick question is, it's the Orthodox Jews that have the locks, right?
Yeah, they're Hasidic. Or Orthodox.
Hasidic or Orthodox. Now, do they look at a Jewish person like you, and, like, is it like how black people are, the light-skinned blacks, the dark-skinned? Like, are they like, you...
I mean, I don't really talk to a lot of Orthodox people. Orthodox, they're very, I mean, I have before, but it all depends on the person. I don't think they all... They definitely, I think some of them think, like, if you're not following the Jewish stuff right, they don't, like, hate you, though, or anything. I mean, I was one time outside one of my agents' offices in Studio City, and it was, I forgot what holiday it was, but these Orthodox... Jews came up to me and they wanted me to do the tefillin and stuff, where they wrap like the stuff around your arm and say the prayers and on your head. Because they just, I don't know how they knew I was Jewish. I think I said something to them like, because I knew it was a holiday, and then they were like, oh, like, do you want to do the tefillin? And so, I mean, they didn't look at me like, oh, you're not like wearing a yarmulke.
Right. Can you explain to people? A lot of people don't understand. Is Jewish? Are you a religion? Because I saw one question that's like, how can you look Jewish? Because to black people, it's hard for us to tell what a Jew like to me. Like, would a Jewish person know
Larry David was Jewish?
I didn't know Larry David was Jewish. I didn't really know Adam Sandler was Jewish. And then we had another Jewish guy, and he was like, so like, he looks so Jewish, and I'm like, how do you look Jewish? Like it does look. So what is it like? Are there stereotypical things that Jewish people look like?
I think there's stereotypical things throughout history and like racist cartoons and stuff that like people do. So that's I guess that's where it comes from. Somebody just wrote "nose" in all caps, so that's nice.
Because Jewish people can tell if another person's Jewish, like a lot of times.
Well, I mean Larry David, you can tell is Jewish.
How though? Because if I just
think
saw
it's
Larry
more the way
David,
he acts. I mean, if he wasn't Jewish, I wouldn't be like, no way, that's not possible. I would realize. I don't know. He's very like New York.
Yeah,
New York Jewish.
He seems like very stereotypical New York Jew. But I mean, you can't. If I showed you all sorts of different Jews, you wouldn't be able to tell. Like especially like Israelis and stuff, and they all look different. It's all kind of like where like I'm just a lot of Eastern European stuff. I'm like Russian and Polish and Ukrainian and all that. So I look like that. I was telling him when I was
just like white to us.
Yeah, but I mean like when I was in I'm part Czech too. I'm not that much Czech. When I was in Prague, I remember asking the lady at the hotel, I was like, do I kind of look like you? I'm part Czech, you know, and she was like, no, not at all. And then she started explaining, like, we have more round faces, you have, like, a narrow face. And then when I went to Poland, I was like, that was the only place I've ever been where I was like, oh, my God, everybody kind of...
My people.
Yeah.
My people!
My brothers and sisters. But, I mean, I don't know, most of them probably weren't Jewish.
Okay. So, let's go. You have any more, Jay?
No. I was just curious about the, like, Orthodox Hasidic Jews.
There are black Jews. Somebody said there's black Jews.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Jews in Ethiopia.
Yeah, one of my friends just became, like, really heavy into, like, black Jews and...
Whoopi Goldberg.
She's not Jewish.
She can, I think she...
Oh, because of her?
No, she is.
No, she had converted a long time ago.
Sammy Davis,
her first husband.
Really?
Sammy Davis Jr. is Jewish.
So you either have to convert or you have to be born.
No, there's black Jews that are born Jewish.
Because your mom has to be Jewish, right? For you.
That's that's the kind of the thing. Like whatever your mom is, that's what. That's I don't know if that's in the Talmud or the Torah or what.
So does that mean you are by just born Jewish, or you have to also practice the religion, or does it matter?
Kind of just depends on. I mean, I think that just depends. Because the way I understand it, we're a race of people. Mm-hmm. Like when the more religions came around, it was then they started making it just a religion. Like I don't know when that happened.
Right.
Some people I've heard argue with me and be like, no, it's just a religion. But like I said, when we used to be called Hebrews, a long time ago, it wasn't like they're Hebrews because they're practicing Judaism.
Right.
We're Hebrews because that's the race of people, and Israelites we were called and stuff like that. So. I don't know. It all depends. I mean, it's the same.
Kind of like Irish Catholic.
Yeah, well, it's the same as if somebody's super Christian, they might, if they're very, very religious, they might look at somebody who doesn't practice like them and go like, oh, they're not a real Christian.
Yeah.
And other people who are really Christian might look at something like that and like, oh yeah, they're Christian. You know what I mean? It's There's no book or anything where they go, oh, this is what you're not a Jew. This is a Jew.
So here's the first question that we got a lot earlier, and it's basically about the stereotype of Jews being cheap. So. Why are Jews, or where did that stereotype originate from, and is there any truth to it?
The way I understand it is a lot of, during the European Depression, which kind of sparked Hitler and all that stuff and people against Jews, so Jews have been kind of, I don't want to cuss, crapped on for throughout time.
Yeah.
So Jews...
Disrespected.
So Jews kind of, okay, that's a nice one, but disrespected. That's like not holding the door open for a Jew. I think it was a little worse. But, so Jews, over time, we kind of stick together. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people, during the European Depression, there was a lot of, Jews ran a lot of, mom and pop shops. So they weren't hit as hard by the European Depression. So people started saying, look at the Jews. They're not hurting as bad. They're, I think we kind of, separate ourselves a little bit from society. Not like we only did things for Jews, but, we ran our own things because we were persecuted against, throughout history.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that kind of evolved. And then so that's where Jews have all the money and stuff.
Right.
It was all kind of things just
they're basically shared within the community. Is that why? Because Asian people do that too.
Yeah, well, in this country, now it's all depending on what you move here. It's that's why I don't get when people say Jews have all the money. Yeah, there's a lot of really successful, rich Jewish people, especially in this country. But I mean, all my relatives were super poor.
Right.
All my grandparents were dirt poor. My dad grew up on the south side of Chicago. My mom didn't grow up poor, but her parents both were dirt poor. Mm-hmm. My grandpa, his father was like worked for Al Capone and was like a piece of crap.
Disrespectful.
Disrespectful. So I mean, like, but like Jews worked really hard. Like Bloomingdale's, if you know the department store, that started because like they were family of Jewish immigrants. Nobody, like a lot of immigrants, like Irish immigrants, nobody wanted to like help them out when they came here, right? Because that's not how it was. Now it's like, oh, you're immigrant, like we help you out with everything,
except if you're Mexican.
Yeah, except if you're Mexican. But I'm saying, so they lived in the ghettos in New York, this family, and they want to make money. So they, a lot of Jews went into the clothing business because they knew how to sew. Like my great grandmother was a seamstress from Russia or Ukraine, and so they knew how to sew. So they went into like they were just in the neighborhood. They started making like garments and stuff. Right? So I think I read the story once about how Bloomingdale started. That family developed some type of like innovative like shorts type of thing.
Right.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was culottes or whatever they made. But then that caught on, and then a lot of people wanted them, and more people wanted them. Then they made a store, and then that store was so busy, they made another store, and it turned into Bloomingdale's.
That's interesting.
So like when people say like, oh, they have all the money, it's like we were poorer than anybody, just like everybody else, and they just like had a work ethic.
Yeah,
that's interesting. How people when they come here or wherever they're at, and they like how they come up, so to speak, like the Irish, like the stereotype of the Irish being all cops. The old saying for the Irish was, don't fight the system, become the system.
Yeah.
So Irish intentionally went in to become firefighters, police officers, mayors, and stuff like that is because they wanted to change the system. And that, like, you've heard the term paddy wagon.
Yeah.
Paddy's a racial slur for Irish. And paddy wagon...
That's what
I knew that, but I never put that... I never put that together with a paddy wagon.
Well, so there's two theories on where paddy wagon comes from. One is that all the drunk Irish were thrown into it, so it was a paddy wagon.
Yeah.
And the other theory is like, oh, it's the Irish truck. The police. So here comes the paddy wagon. Here comes the Irish wagon.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's what it's...
The more you know.
And like a lot of Jews are lawyers too, and they're successful lawyers, and I can't even remember the story exactly, but basically all the law schools or Jews are like the New York public school system used to be super good. Back in the day, and so a lot of Jews would they would study. After that, they would study to get into like law school, or whatever. But then no one wanted to hire a Jewish person at their law firm. It was all, I don't know if it was Catholic or maybe it was just Christian, but they didn't want Jews, right? So Jews started. I forgot what type of law it was, but Jews started practicing this certain type of law. Like people needed this one thing, and no one was really doing it.
Right.
And then then they became like a lot of. There's like a reason. I've read why there's like so many Jewish lawyers and doctors. That was one reason, and then the doctor thing I forgot. But if you look at like the lineage of Jews in America, it was like 95% were in the garment industry, and then like the next generation, it was like 50% were, and then like it all like moved into like doctors and lawyers because that's just how the families worked.
So somebody said, what type of Jew are you? Because I've seen Orthodox, Masonic? How do you call it? Masonic Jew? Reformed. So can you talk a little bit about like...
Yeah.
Reformed, you go to rehab?
Reform is kind of like the least religious.
Okay.
But it's usually like Reform is the least religious, and Conservative is like kind of middle, and then Orthodox is like the super Jewish.
Those are like, is an Orthodox like a Hasidic Jew?
Yeah,
is that the same deal?
You know what? I'm blurry on the difference, but I think there's a difference between Hasidic and Orthodox. I think Hasidic are Orthodox. I don't know if all Orthodox are Hasidic.
So is Hasidic like I don't want to say creme de la creme, but like the most
I'm not
strictly like
Orthodox and Hasidic. They're like they won't use electricity on
so
the
like
Sabbath.
Irish people,
huh?
Oh, only on the Sabbath.
On the Sabbath, like they won't drive to temple. They'll walk. That's why you see. I don't know if you
in Hollywood, all people walking around.
Yeah, like West LA.
Yeah,
like you'll see them all walking on Saturday morning and stuff.
Yeah,
it's because they're not supposed to use electricity, so they're not using cars. They're not using.
Because there's like no workers. Because have you seen Entourage?
Yeah, not every episode.
But there was an episode where Ari was like trying to close a deal on the Sabbath, and he couldn't get any. The person was Jewish, so he like went to temple, and he like no cell phone. They're like walking around and Sabbath is Saturday, right?
It's
from Sunday
it starts
or sundown Friday.
Friday night sundown, and then it ends sundown Saturday.
Okay, so an Orthodox person won't do anything electric from that time.
That's not the only thing. There's other things too, but that's like the main. That's why you see them all walking around LA.
Got it.
That's interesting. No, I always was like, yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, me too. So are you? What are you? What are you?
Just in general, James, like, I thought, why are there still Jews? Like, what's going on here?
Oh my god. Okay, so what are you?
My temple I went to growing up was conservative, but honestly, I don't think we were strict enough to really be considered. I always told people like, oh, like I'm conservative, like that's because that's the temple I went to.
Okay.
But I mean,
what's a Jewish church service like?
It all depends because like
for you then.
Well, I'll tell you, this. Reformed temples, I've been to those, and like they'll have like a guy playing guitar and stuff, and they're kind of singing
like Journey.
Journey with Journey. No, so like there's no clapping like at the end of a thing.
No clapping.
What
are you doing? If you're not clapping, I couldn't go to church for a full service without clapping.
Well, I'm saying at Reform, they would. They'd clap. They kind of sing the songs. At the temple I went to, there was you would chant. You'd chant this stuff. So it's kind of like, it's sort of like singing some of them. Mm-hmm. And some of it definitely, if you would walk in and you've never been there, you'd be like, oh, they're singing this song in Hebrew. It's a lot in Hebrew. It's a lot of opening and closing the ark, walking the Torah around, like blessings, reading from the Torah, like all these things. People at my temple would all wear, if you were bar mitzvah or like that age.
What's a bar mitzvah?
A bar mitzvah is like, it's a ceremony where, everyone says like, oh, a Jewish boy becomes a man or whatever.
Yeah.
But basically, it's when you read from the Torah for the first time in front of the whole congregation. And I had to study for like 8-9 months because I had all these Torah portions and like a half Torah. I had to learn all this. It was all in Hebrew.
Oh, then, the Torah is only in Hebrew. I don't know
about
Torah.
Well, I'm sure you can get one like translated in English. But yeah, the scrolls and everything. It's
all in Hebrew. Okay.
Yeah. And
is it like you have to learn how to read Hebrew lyrics, or are you just like memorizing it, like rote memorization?
I could read Hebrew, but I was basically, you have to learn how to chant. There's tropes, okay? So like, it's kind of, there's a lot of tangents right now, but like, Hebrew is written right to left, so it's read the opposite way. The vowels in Hebrew are all symbols underneath the characters, but in the Torah there's no vowels. So I could read Hebrew, but I was basically learning it because you have to learn how to say each word. So you don't just read it.
Right.
Like I'm chanting it, so.
So can you give an example? Is that disrespectful for me to ask? Like, what
I give you kind of a funny story, like, because the funny thing is you're going through puberty at that age, so your voice is all messed up, right?
God. Perfect timing.
Yeah. And so I remember this, like, because this is like funny to me. You have to hit some high notes. Like some of the tropes are like, and so like this one word Vayomer, which I don't know what it means. I can't remember what it means now, but the way I was supposed to chant that one word I don't know if it was one of my Torah portions or my half Torah, I had to go like Vayomer or something like that, and so my voice just like cut out, like just cut out in the middle of the word. I was like Vayomer. And then, like, I remember, I told you, there's no clapping or, like, laughing and stuff, and I just remember, like...
So there's dead silence?
Yeah, but then I, like, stopped and I just, like, looked up and smiled at everybody, and then, like, you heard, like, a bunch of people laugh, and then... I don't know if I remember this correctly.
If you were in a black church, we'd be like, that's all right.
Yeah.
Let him use you. That's all right.
Not only that, but that note would have gone on for, like, 2 minutes.
We like to encourage our people when they're struggling. Hey, you don't know about us. We'd be like, that's all right, baby. Yeah. Oh, do it.
Picks up a tambourine.
But, are you Baptist?
No, I'm just Christian. Okay. I grew up apostolic.
Okay.
And then I also went to a Kojic church, and now I go to a non-denominational church.
Okay, because I used to have a story I'll tell on stage. I'm not gonna do it now, but when my track coach died, I was like really close to his family. Like one of his daughters was like, kind of like, my girlfriend when I was like really little. Yeah. Not really like my girlfriend, but like we liked each other and stuff. So so I like joined his track team, and I was really close to that family. When he died, I was super sad.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the funeral. And that was my first time at a Black Baptist church. Yeah. And it was like, I'm just sitting there.
That's when your head exploded.
Yeah. Whoa, welcome.
And I said,
why is everybody so mad?
Yeah. they were all like, first off, I didn't know who was in charge because like there's like 5 different preachers who all got their own turn. And the first guy,
what the heck is going on around here?
Though I just remember the first guy went up there and he was just like, I was sitting next to my mom or something, and he just like, Skip is dead, y'all. And everyone's like, he's dead. And I just remember being like, just even that, I was just like, whoa, fucking let the guy talk. Like, everyone like, he dead, and I was just like, whoa. And then he goes, we sure are gonna miss that jambalaya he used to make. And everyone's like, that was some good jambalaya. And I was just like, what is happening?
Why are you guys talking?
He's the preacher's up there.
And his recipe was a little bit of...
And then the guy, like, it started off sad, because the guy was like looking down and everything, and then he goes, but just because Skip ain't with us, man.
Hey!
He goes, doesn't mean he's right there. I'm now soaring with the angels. And everybody just starts jumping up and they're like, woo!
Skip ain't dead!
They started doing the wave.
When I rise, skipped on the glory. You thought he was dead, but he's living now. You guys are like, oh, what?
That was like kind of it. And people were like jumping up and down and everything.
And we celebrate our funeral. Is a Jewish funeral like super quiet and like?
It is, but I mean, it's funny because every funeral I've been to, and Jewish funerals too, it is like a celebration of life. Like they say that. But the black churches really are celebrating.
You
You guys are actually celebrating. And Jews are just like, let's talk about the good times in like a somber way. And you guys are just like...
We're like knocking the body over.
Get that jambalaya. You knock the casket over. Somebody picks him up, starts moonwalking with him.
That's not that far from the realm of possibility.
Oh,
okay, let's get back to the questions. Do you celebrate Rosh? How do you pronounce?
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah just means Rosh is head and Hashanah is the year. So it's like head of the year.
So like New Year? Okay.
Yeah, it's a New Year.
That was like last week, right?
Yeah, and then Yom Kippur is coming up. You can be Jewish from... that's it.
So what's Yom Kippur? What are the what are like the Jewish holidays?
The main Jewish holidays are Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Black Friday.
We like Black Friday. A lot of deals.
My friend at work is Jewish, and he said on Christmas they just like eat like Chinese food.
That's
like
kind of like an American stereotype because the Chinese food places don't close.
So does that really happen? Because
my family used to do that. It's not like Jewish tradition. We get like
it's just like
we're hungry
and the only thing is only Chinese food.
Yeah, and it's
so does it become like a novelty thing?
Yeah, it's like a novelty thing, and it's like in America. I think American Jews celebrate Christmas in our own way because it's like, we'll be around family too because none of our other friends can hang out with us. Right. It's like a family day for us.
We're gonna celebrate Christmas like by default. Well, we can't kick with these guys. Yeah. That's a good question. Are you currently celebrating the 10 Days of Atonement?
Yeah. Okay. So Yom Kippur is when that's kind of like Easter. It's like the day to like atone for your sins and stuff like that.
You're right.
I'm not gonna act like an expert. I'm not sure if there are 10 days.
Okay.
Of atonement. I think that sounds about right, but yeah, it's just kind of like a day to like that's like the most holy day. Okay. And Hanukkah is not like a big holiday. That's like an Americanized thing.
Really?
Yeah, Hanukkah.
It's like Jewish Kwanzaa.
God damn it, Jay.
I was just saying.
Kwanzaa's only like 40 years older though. It's like it's not been around forever.
Kwanzaa's an American thing, right?
I think
it's a Black American thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they celebrate it in Africa. I don't know that much about Kwanzaa.
What do you mean they?
Here's a serious question. I'm going to totally throw you off with this, but this is something I've always wondered.
Can you explain why Jews don't eat bacon? I can do that real quick. There's kosher law, like kashrut law, and that's just like how you prepare the food and everything. And there's a certain thing. Jews don't eat pigs because I think it's the same reason Muslims don't. Is because pigs, it's unclean and like they chew on their own cud. I don't know what cud is, but I think it has to do with like they poop where they eat.
Yeah.
So they're
There was a time I went to a black church and they were like, we couldn't eat any pig and any shrimp because they do the same thing.
Oh yeah, my friend, somebody's friend is Seventh-day Adventist, and like his grandma one time was giving me a lecture on how because I don't keep with kosher law, so I'll eat bacon and stuff, and she was like, Jeff, no, like what are you doing? And I just go, what? She goes, she started telling me how the devil is in pigs, and I was like, well, that's not. That's not why we don't eat it, but
there's a Bible story where a demon was cast into pigs, and they like they went and like jumped off into jumped off a cliff into some water.
Okay.
But if the devil's in the pig, then I must need to stop.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to eat breakfast if you don't eat pork, though? All the breakfast meats are pork.
Yeah, like sausage.
And like turkey bacon. Come on, guys. That's not a real thing. Here's my question, and we'll get back to you guys' question. We got pretty much all the questions on here. There's people who believe, and I don't know how, that the Holocaust is just totally like made up. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen. How do you feel about that? Because I'm like, how could you really think that? There's like pictures, there's books, there's like first-hand accounts, and people are just like, nope, didn't happen.
Yeah, I think all those people hate Jews. I don't think there's people who like have Jewish friends who are like, and just as a side thing, I don't think the Holocaust ever happened.
It's a little side thing.
Just like one thing about me, I don't think the Holocaust happened. I hang out with all Jews. I'm pretty sure 100% of people who deny the Holocaust do not like Jews. Because the reason why we know so much about the Holocaust and how many people died and all that stuff is because the Nazis were so good at documenting it.
Yeah.
They documented with film. They had like all sorts of paperwork.
Yeah.
They were like very like.
There's like tattoos, everything.
Well, yeah. I mean that too. I knew people who were in the camps with Anne Frank and Otto Frank and all that.
Really?
Yeah. I mean they some of them survived. So like I would say I know them. But yeah. So the Nazis were really the ones that kind of made it so we do have a good number. And it's not even like, a lot of people just still dispute the number. Some people, and the thing that bothers me about the Holocaust, people always say like, oh, 6 million Jews died. There was like probably 11 or 12 million people total. Because they were killing off like gay people, they were killing off people with mental disability, they're killing off gypsies, they're killing off...
Just anybody who wasn't
anybody
like...
Yeah. I mean, Jews definitely were their main, like, listen, we hate them the most.
Right.
So we're really trying to get rid of all of them, but... You know, there's millions of other people that died.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when anyone references the Holocaust as just Jews dying because...
Right. It was like a genocide. Well, I guess it was genocide for Jews. It was just like mass murder.
Well, they killed like, I think, 2/3 of the world's Jewish population or something.
Dang. So and how long was that? Like less than 10 years? Like...
from like 39 to 45.
Yeah, like 2/3 of the Jewish people.
But even before the World War II started, they were, you know... taking all the Jews' stuff, moving them into like these horrible ghettos. Like just
that's where the term ghetto comes from. It's people think it's a black thing. It was a Jewish thing first, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know what was first, but yeah,
the term ghetto. I mean,
the term ghetto.
Yeah,
well, yeah, it's definitely they put Jews in the ghetto,
right?
And they literally went and took all their stuff. I mean, there's still like all sorts of people like they had like family heirlooms and stuff. Like gold. They took all their stuff. I mean, at the camps, when you went to the camp, you had like a gold filling. They ripped out your teeth. They took all their shoes. But this is before even the camps and all that stuff. They were like, it was unbelievably horrible what they were doing.
And that's terrible. Okay. We're gonna take some more questions. How are black Jews treated? I saw that one earlier. I don't know if you have. If you know?
I mean, these questions, how are
like a unicorn?
That's all like treated by who? Like people who hate black people, hate Jewish people, probably like are super pissed off about these black Jews.
Yeah. But I mean, you have two of the things I hate the most.
Oh, let's talk about Jewish food. Somebody said gefilte fish.
Yeah, I don't like gefilte fish.
That Chris Tucker said that. I thought he said that in Rush Hour, and I was like, that is a real thing. But
gefilte fish, I don't like it.
Is there any Jewish food that you do like?
Yeah. I mean, Jewish food is, a lot of it's like brisket, which a lot of people eat brisket.
Blacks, Jews, brisket. We don't agree on anything else.
Yeah, there's
brisket. I didn't know like delicatessens are like a Jewish thing.
Yeah. But those are all kind of, they've faded over the years too. I watched this documentary on Jewish delis, and because of just the culture and everything.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, like, the Jews came from Europe or whatever when they came here. A lot of them, I told you, they could sew, and they could, like, and the food.
Yeah.
And so it's like people go into whatever they can do.
Right. They're just doing what they do. I know. Yeah. Have you ever been to Katz's Deli in New York? That's the best pastrami sandwich I've ever had in my life. I even went to Cantor's in LA because the guy was like, "This is better than Katz," and it was good, but it wasn't good.
Better than Katz.
It's not better than
Katz. Katz's gives you like a sandwich.
Dude, it's like a $16 sandwich,
a tray of pickles.
Dude, like I was like, what am I supposed to do with all this? Yeah. They gave me and my wife we weren't together. It was like 20 pickles.
Yeah, there's a lot of pickles.
It's like, dude, you keep some.
Yeah.
I thought one pickle per sandwich. They're like, nah, fam.
A lot of pickles.
8 pickles. Yeah. Just buckets of pickles everywhere. That was great.
There's a lot of Jewish food. There's harosef, which is something you eat on Passover, which is just kind of like apples and walnuts, and it's cooked in...
Is that like the dessert thing?
No, it's like you put it on matzah.
Okay.
Which matzah is just unleavened bread. It's like basically
I have matzo ball soup.
I like matzo ball soup.
That's fire. That's Jewish penicillin, my friend said.
Yeah.
He was Jewish, so...
Yeah.
Cool.
You can say that. Sure.
Okay. It's like chicken noodle soup, but with like the big ball.
Yeah. My mom makes really good matzo ball soup, and then there's a lot of. Really, the only thing I don't like is gefilte fish.
Yeah.
Gefilte fish looks like brains.
Yeah.
And it's like this weird film on top. And it's funny because my wife, who's not Jewish, when she first came to Passover, my mom's, people come around like, oh, who wants gefilte fish? Some people do like it, and. I said to Christy, you don't have to eat this. I go, I'm telling you right now, like, not that good. You don't have to, like, but my wife's, like, super nice and polite. And she goes, no, it's okay. And then she tastes it, and I was just like, you don't like it, right? It's bad. And then she just goes, like, I don't like this. And then my mom comes by, and she's like, no, it's good. I'm like, I go, you're going to have to eat this every time. I go,
you got to just take the L early. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. So if you have a kid with your wife, is your kid considered Jewish?
Well, we're going to probably raise her. She's Catholic, so we're going to have to raise them both because she's
Catholic Jew.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
It is.
It's gotta be a thing. With your kids.
Yeah, there's kids that are raised both ways. I mean, she's not super super religious.
Right.
I'm not super religious. I'm very Jewish, like culturally, because it's we're like a dying race basically, and all that. But I mean, I can't fuck. I fell in love with somebody who's not Jewish. So
what are you gonna do? Okay, so more questions. We're ready. We're looking at the screen. Do you have any, Jay?
No, I answered
If Jesus was a Jew, do you worship him?
No, we don't worship Jesus. We do agree that he was Jewish, but we don't think he's the Son of God.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, yeah, he's not. Basically, like our Bible, like this is the New Year. It's the year 5776.
Okay.
This year, so like. Basically, the way, like, the Old Testament, what you call the Old Testament, that's the Torah. And then, like...
It's just written in Hebrew.
Well, yeah, it's written in Hebrew. But I'm saying, like...
What was originally written in Hebrew?
Yeah. Yeah, it still is. But I'm saying it's like, we were Jews, like, we had this, like, with the stuff we believe, and then kind of, like, I don't know, I wasn't there, obviously, none of us were, but, like, Jesus came along, and then I guess a lot of people, I don't even know, was it when he was alive, or, like, even after he's dead or something, people started, like... They became Christian or whatever. So the year 2015 is like that's basically like the Christian calendar. Yeah. So so it's kind of like you add it onto the book and we don't accept.
So the whole Jesus part, you're just like nah.
The whole New Testament you're saying is basically you're like.
So you agree Jesus existed, but you don't think he's the Son of God.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens in church? Like
temple?
Or temple. I'm sorry.
Kevin's mind is like,
I don't
Jesus, how do you have a service?
Well, I mean, Jesus is such a big part of it.
Well, it's like in Islam, I'm pretty sure they believe Jesus is a prophet, but they don't think he's the Son of God.
Right.
And they think Muhammad's like the most important prophet.
Yeah.
So it's just, we just don't believe it. The same way, you don't believe in Muhammad being a prophet.
Yeah, I just didn't know that. I mean, I'm not an expert on every religion. So
you're coming off like an expert.
I'm not. Okay,
What about the Old Testament prophecies about?
I think they meant Son of God.
I think Jews, we believe that like in the Messiah coming.
Okay.
But we don't believe that he's come yet, type of thing.
Okay. That's interesting.
What that person asked me, if I met a Nazi.
If you met a Nazi who served under Hitler, what would you do? They'd be super old.
Yeah, they'd be really old.
Like what's up now?
Served under Hitler? Cane out from under him?
Like they would have to.
They'd be really old if they were like serving under Hitler.
What would I do? Nothing. I mean, like when there's like stories about when the camps were liberated, how a lot of the military, like the Allies or whatever, like let the Jews, when they saw like what they were doing to all the people in the camps, they let the Jews, they like held some of the Nazi guards that like treated them unbelievably bad, and said like do whatever you want, and like the Jews were like nah, like we're like because like that's not how they think. But I've also read books like Viktor Frankl, who was in the Holocaust, and he was in one of the camps. He wrote a book, and he was a psychiatrist or a psychologist before the war, and so he wrote this book about his time in the camps, and there are stories about like Jews being horrible to each other to try and survive, but then other ones wouldn't. I mean, it's like
so it's like black on black crime. See, then the Jews were doing that to each other. Jew on Jew crime.
Basically, like to survive, like if you had to, save your daughter by throwing me under the bus. to a bar, you would like some people would do that, some people would. Just like, I mean, it's just like a horrific situation that they put human beings in.
Right.
But a lot of so it's not like all Jews do this, like just like all black people don't do this, and all Irish people are kind of the same.
They do get drunk on St. Patty's Day.
So the Jews believe the Old Testament, just the Torah. The Torah is the first 5 books of Moses.
Okay. How do your parents feel about you being married to a Catholic?
The experts say we think the Messiah is Elijah. That's not true. We don't think the Messiah is Elijah. We do on Passover leave the door open. You do a place setting for Elijah, but I don't know I can't remember the history of that.
Okay. How do your parents feel about you marrying a Catholic girl?
Well, my parents love my wife.
She's great.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't think. I think they would prefer if she was Jewish. But they don't. I mean, they love my wife.
Right.
Like
but before, were you like, when you were growing up, was it like almost expected that you would marry a Jewish girl?
They used to say, I mean, my dad grew up on the south side of Chicago, so a lot of his friends were all either black or Jewish.
Okay.
And cause that's like all the
south side of Chicago is like really Irish too, isn't it?
My buddy Ken's from there.
It's really black too.
Well, it depends on where my dad grew up. It's like it's all black now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my dad was like, he was friends with like the Blackstone Rangers, like his friend Jeffrey Branch was like one of the top 21. The Blackstone Rangers is like one of the biggest street gangs like ever in Chicago, and like back then you didn't become a top guy by like killing people because there weren't like a lot of guns and stuff in gangs then. It was like fighting. So JB was like one of the toughest guys ever. But so
you had hands.
My dad had stories where it was like after Martin Luther King was assassinated, my dad played basketball. He was like all city in Chicago. So he was playing basketball with like all his black friends, and then some gang or some other gang or something came in, or just, I don't know, maybe just like a group of black guys that were pissed off that Martin Luther King was assassinated. And they were like, we're gonna like kill us a white boy, and then like the Blackstone Rangers or something all like circled around my dad, and they were
not
just
killing
like,
this.
Yeah, they're like, no one's touching
Robbie because he can hoop, and you're
we need a point guard.
We just got five. We need somebody with a jumper. Y'all find another white guy to kill.
We need someone that actually passes the ball.
All right, we got time for a couple more questions. Then we're gonna do ask a really white guy.
We're going on a big tangent.
No, it's interesting.
I need a Jew like your dad. Yes, Hunty.
That's black for like,
yes. Hunty?
Honey, yes.
Oh, honey. I thought it said Hunty.
It does say Hunty, but it's like, yes,
Hunty. Do you
Hunty.
experience anti-Semitism in Hollywood? Not really. I experienced anti-Semitism growing up, though.
Did you?
Yeah. And the thing about anti-Semitism is kind of like being black, sometimes people, someone's being racist towards you.
Right, but it's like kind of subtle.
But there's no way to prove it.
Right.
Like, no one yelled the N-word and pointed at you, but know this person hates you because you're black, and they said something that you know. Right. So, like, my basketball coach in high school, the head coach of the program, and I was a public high school.
Right.
Encouraged all of us to go to Bible study, which is like totally inappropriate because it's a public school.
Right.
And touch me here.
Yeah.
Jay!
And it wasn't like you need to go if you want to be on the team, but it was kind of like, hey, Coach so-and-so and I, we do this. It'd be nice to see you guys there. Like that kind of thing. And, I think I was the only Jewish guy in the program, but there was like a couple Muslim kids, and I just remember being like, this is like unfair. Right. And I had like my best friend, one of my best friends like growing up, he was Catholic, and this coach was like, like born again Christian, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go just because obviously Coach wants us there. And then my other buddies who were Christian but they weren't religious were like, yeah, we're gonna go because like it looks good for Coach. So I'm like, so he definitely had this like weird thing, and there was this moment. One year, this is why I left that school because I really was into basketball. And one year, I was on the JV team for like spring league. I was far and away playing better than anybody else on the team. I wasn't like I don't never hog the ball. Like I was shooting I was averaging like 9 shots a game and like averaging like 17, 18 points a game. And he was moving people up every week to play with the varsity just to give him a shot.
Yeah. And
he would not give me a shot. It was like the most obvious thing ever. And when I went to talk to him about it in his office, basically he let me know he's racist. Like just like Jews. And like it was one of those things where it's like I wasn't recording the conversation or something, and if I went and complained about it, it would just sound like some Jew is like whining. But he basically told me like, he said something about transferring. There was a private Jewish school, and he said something about me transferring there, and I go, why would you think I would transfer there? He's like, I just thought, and I go, so you think of me first as a Jewish person, not a basketball player? And then he goes, no, like, he goes, like, if I heard Matt Dannison, who was another guy, he goes, if I heard he was transferring, I would think he was going to Capo because he knows Coach Prospero, and he's close to the coach over there. I'm like, so again, you think of Matt as a basketball player who has this basketball connection. I go, I know Rich Prospero too. Why do you think I'm not going to Capital? I go, you think of me, you go, Jew, must be going to the Jew school, which I've never even heard of at this point. Like, you know about it. And then he just got like real like.
This whole time he's like, you know what, he should really be going to that school. He shouldn't be playing.
He was like, you're pretty bold. You're kind of an uppity Jew.
Yeah, he was a white guy. And then he was just like, I don't have to explain myself to you. And I'm like, you just said you think of me as a Jew first. I go, I'm in the basketball program. And also, my coach my freshman year was a member of this religious organization. He'd always wear like the sweater and everything, which was started by an anti-Semitic person. And then and I was like going from 8th grade into high school. Everyone kind of knew because like the traveling basketball that I was like me and my friends were like kind of the best basketball players in our area. And everyone kind of knew like Jess the point guard. He's gonna be the starting point guard for the team. And I broke my thumb the second day of like summer camp, right? Which is you kind of have to. That's part of the program basically. Mm-hmm. And but I still showed up every day at 7 a.m. just to be with the guys and everything. And then I was out of it. And one day I had to miss because it was a holiday. It was a Jewish holiday. And they didn't know I was Jewish because my last name it's not Goldberg or like Weinstein or something. So they didn't know I was Jewish. Right. And so I said, hey coach, I can't come tomorrow. And by the way, they were like not idolizing me, but they were so proud of me because I was coming every day. Right. Like this guy's dedicated. And I go because it's a holiday. I go for me. I go, I'm Jewish, and I gotta go. And like this dude's again, like one of those things like as a black guy, this guy's face dropped. The other thing about if you're black, people can know you're black right away because they see your skin. Right. But if you're Jewish and your last name's not some super Jewy or you don't have like the payas, whatever, all they don't know. Right. So I would notice people's faces literally change. And I'm like, this person hates Jews and I can't prove it.
Well, that's one thing I was going to ask you, kind of piggybacking off of the question. The original question was, have you experienced any racism? Have you had it? I'm sure you have, but where somebody doesn't know you're Jewish and they're like, man, these damn Hebes or whatever they're saying.
Yeah, all the time growing up.
And then you were like, oh yeah, that's what I am.
Yeah, no, that all the time growing up because people would like say things and I'd always be like, oh, like I'm Jewish, and then like they'd always be like, oh, and you know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, no, I
dude, I have a friend that's Jewish.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we have time for like one more question, and then we're gonna do
explain the yarmulke. That has something to do with knowing God's above you and you're not above God, so you're supposed to have your head covered.
No, I didn't know that.
Interesting.
And there might be more to it, but I think that's part of it.
That's a really hard word to spell, by the way.
Yarmulke?
It's like they spell Y-A-R-M-U-L-K.
Yeah, it's Y-A-R-M-U-L-K-E.
Yeah.
Or you call it a kippah, which is...
Yep. I want a Messianic Jew that loves soul food.
I love soul food.
And he also loves his wife.
I don't know if I think Messianic might be like the region you come from. Because I think I'm Ashkenazi.
Gesundheit.
All right, guys, thank you so much. On that moment, Y2 Kitchens?
That's if you keep kosher. You're supposed to have your plates, like meat and dairy isn't supposed to touch, and they're also not supposed to be like cooked in the same stuff or be served on the same plates. So that's like a super Jewish Orthodox thing.
Wow. Well, that's our time with
Jeff
Keith. That was like Keith Jeffries? Jeff Keith. Thank you so much. Because the last time we had a Jewish person on, people were so mad at me.
I'll tell you who it is afterwards.
We'll say his name off camera. They were like...
It was so funny.
Mad.
Because he's very aggressive Jewish person.
He just came off real... I mean, the stuff he was saying was funny, but the audience was just like, get that guy out of here.
I'll tell you afterwards.
All right, guys, we'll be back in 2 minutes with Chad, who's a really, really, really,
I wasn't
really
white enough.
That person just said, okay, Ashkenazi, that explains a lot. Real talk.
All right, bye.